Saha Vidura Tam unto Uddhava Mahabhagavatam, the great devotee of the Lord. Vrajantam, while going. Kaurava Rishabhaha, the best among the Kauravas. Vishrambhat, out of confidence. Abhyatata, submitted. Idam, this. Mukyam, unto the chief. Krishna, Lord Krishna. Parigrahe, in devotional service to the Lord. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. While Uddhava, the chief and most confidential amongst the devotees of the Lord, was going away, Vidura, in affection and confidence, questioned him. Purport: Vidura was much older than Uddhava. By family relationship, Uddhava was a contemporary brother of Krishna's, while Vidura was as elderly as Krishna's father Vasudeva. But although junior by age, Uddhava was very much advanced in the devotional service of the Lord, and therefore he is described herein as the chief amongst the devotees of the Lord. Vidura was confident about this, and thus he addressed Uddhava in that higher category. That is the way of the courteous dealings between two devotees. Om Jnana Timyantasya Jnana Jana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutav Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagapati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu State Devi Pranamami Hari Panchakalpa Drubhyascha Kripasindhubi Evicha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
There's no backing. I mean, very little backing.
Oh, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swami Nityanamani Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamani Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shrunivani Pashchati Deshatarine Bhagisha Yasya Vanine Lakshmi Yasya Chalaksisi Yasya Stejade Sapitam Samhamji. Satam Mahabhagavatam Prajantam Kauravarshavah Vishrambhad Apyadate Dam Mukyam Krishna Parigrahe. While Uddhava, the chief and most confidential amongst the devotees of the Lord, was going away, Vidura, in affection and confidence, questioned him. So we're continuing here where Uddhava is interacting with Vidura, and Uddhava is going away, and Vidura is now questioning Uddhava, and we see here that right after this, Uddhava will actually refuse to instruct Vidura due to the difference in their age and due to etiquette, you could say, and also because nearby is Maitreya, who is equally as qualified to instruct Vidura, but is also older in age and more close to Vidura's age. So we see here, that Vidura was as elderly as Krishna's father, Vasudeva, and Uddhava was Krishna's cousin. So it wasn't so appropriate in that situation for Uddhava to instruct Vidura. Although, of course, Uddhava is the topmost devotee, he's completely capable and qualified to instruct Vidura. We see that, again, according to culture, according to custom, etiquette, you could say, these things were approached in a bit of a delicate way. And this kind of understanding of seniority and respect for one's elders and these kinds of things isn't such a prominent thing in the Western world, in the world, the culture that we grew up in, most of us. Actually, we were just talking to this young boy, this college boy that we're kind of preaching to and just hanging out with yesterday, and he was talking about how one of his biggest fears is to end up in one of these retirement homes, because if you've ever been to one, I remember when I was a kid and I had like a great grandma. I never really met her, but I think she must have been in one of these homes. I remember going to one. This is like the first time I'd seen her, but you go there and it's literally like a horror movie. Like you hear people screaming and like nobody's there to take care of them, and the nurses don't care generally. Actually, a lot of these places, the nurses abuse the elderly people, and so it's a depressing state where these people who are the elders of society, they should be taken care of according to Varnashram. The people that are too old to care for themselves, to be taken care of by their younger, by their children. And this is the duty, the responsibility of the children. But nowadays, everyone's so busy with working and caring for their own family, their own sense gratification, that they simply discard their older parents once they get to the age of no longer being useful to, provide for the family and work and these things. So they kind of just get discarded and thrown, to these homes and forgotten about. They might get visited once a month or every few months, and that's about it. And a lot of times, of course, these people have issues with their, maybe like Alzheimer's and dementia, where they're losing faculty in their brain, and it's a very sad state. But we see again in Vedic culture that there's respect for one's elders. There is understanding that the elders, especially in terms of Vaishnava society, these are worshipable seniors that have an understanding of Krishna and an understanding of devotional service that they can impart unto us, and that we can learn a lot from them. They've given a whole lifetime worth of service, and they've been studying Shastra, and they've been practicing chanting these things for so long that they have a lot of insights, and they're much more advanced than us in devotional service. And so, we see that when senior devotees come here, particularly Prabhupada disciples come here, we like to welcome them with pomp and what's it called? Pomp and circumstance? Something like that. The pomp, I think that's like from Old English, like where they have the royal assembly come and the king comes and you welcome them with a big festival. So we go out with kirtan and have flowers, garland them, and have them come in and speak to us and offer obeisances to them, worship them, do pada puja, all these things, because we understand that these are worshipable personalities. These are people these are devotees that have given their whole lives in the service of Srila Prabhupada, and they've allowed us to get to this point where we are, where we have this place, and where we can continue on the mission of Srila Prabhupada with the foundation that they've built. There's this analogy of D-Day that's used that one devotee, I can't remember the details of who said this, but a devotee said that I view my entire life, my entire devotional service as like one of these soldiers on D-Day. And D-Day was when the Americans and the British troops stormed the beaches of Normandy in France and started kind of taking back territory from the Germans in World War II. And so the first few waves, thousands and thousands of people that came onto the beaches were just mowed down by the machine guns. And so they were making very little progress with a lot of loss, but eventually they were able to get through because of the sacrifice of all those men. Some were falling on the barbed wire and these things and then creating a bridge, you could say, for the other ones to come over. And so this one devotee said that he compared his devotional life to being one of those soldiers that just had to fall on barbed wire and allow other devotees to kind of come over. So there's very little progress seemingly made, but such a big sacrifice made. But it is progress because it's allowing the next generations to come and move things forward. And now we have, devotees all over the world. We have temples all over the world. We have facilities that we can go stay at. And right now, there's devotees in Boston distributing books, staying in the temple there. We go all over the place, different temples, different devotees' houses we can stay at. And whereas when Prabhupada came, there was literally nothing. No devotees in America, just Prabhupada. And then he was, instructing people and getting people to join, but they didn't really know anything either, for a long time. They were completely new. And so they didn't understand anything about culture and respecting your elders and all these things. So this has all been given to us by the sacrifices of our seniors, Srila Prabhupada and all of his disciples, and even before that as well, of course. But we see throughout Prabhupada's books kind of more indication of how to deal with and approach this etiquette of seniors and juniors and equals and all these things. There's this, in Krishna book particularly, chapter 65, when Lord Balaram goes back to Vrindavan, to visit Vrindavan, there's this little passage that kind of explains this nicely, that Lord Balaram then offered his respectful obeisances to the elderly cowherd men and accepted the obeisances of the younger cowherd men. Thus, according to their different ages and relationships, Lord Balaram exchanged feelings of friendship with them. He shook hands with those who were his equals in age and friendship, and with loud laughing embraced each one of them. So, to his seniors, he's offering obeisances. To his juniors, he's allowing them to offer their obeisances. And to his equals, he's embracing them, shaking hands, and laughing, and welcoming them in that way. And I was just kind of thinking about that passage in particular, that here, in Krishna life, it's kind of like we combine these, almost all of them, like, if devotees come back after a long time of traveling, the junior offers obeisances to the senior, but also the senior offers obeisances to the junior. And then they also embrace and laugh and have a good time. So it's like all of these things are happening at once, which is really nice. But it's not to say that we don't have also understanding of seniority and these kinds of things as well, and respect for our seniors. This is kind of like a nice training ground, or like you could say a microcosm of these kinds of relationships here in Christian life, because most of us are around similar ages, but there's also obviously devotees that have been doing it for a lot longer, and then there's newer devotees, and so we're trained up when we come here to have the proper attitude, proper respect, proper relationship with senior devotees, but it's also not so completely formal that it's very rigid or off-putting, I guess you could say. Specifically for Westerners, we're not used to having this kind of awe and reverence, I guess you could say, for seniors. So there's still that level of friendship that's there, but it's with the understanding that still, this is my senior and I should have a certain amount of respect. I can't exactly act with them the same way I act with my equal or my junior. But so this is nicely inculcated here and taught here through this program. And so we sometimes see, at least I've seen that devotees sometimes come from elsewhere, maybe like India or something. This is just kind of like a side note, but apparently in India, like in ashrams and stuff, it's not so common for devotees to hug and embrace like that. So I think that we have, we're lucky here because it's like a very loving environment, and it builds a nice friendship and brotherhood that you can have these loving relationships. I've heard that it's just, devotees come from India and they're like, oh, this is kind of weird, what's going on? But it's really nice, it's very loving environment, supportive environment. And another point is that, just back on this point of Westerners not understanding this kind of culture, not understanding that, someone's my senior and I should respect them in that way, and especially when it comes to being your senior in devotional service. Maybe they're your junior in age, but they're your senior in devotional service, and this creates a very uncomfortable situation, I guess you could say, for some Westerners, or just unfamiliar situation. Generally, someone that's younger than you in anything is less experienced. But, this is kind of why I'm on the Bhakti program, and one of the problems we have, I guess you could say, is that if someone's a little bit older, maybe they're 30 plus and they're coming in and they want to start taking a devotional service, they want to become a brahmachari, it's actually very difficult for them, and we've seen that they generally don't make it. They're not able to get through it because one of the main reasons is their mental hang-ups with surrendering or being submissive to someone that's physically older than them. You know, Chandan's like 26 now, almost 26. And so if a 30-year-old comes in and then Chandan's there telling them, no, you need to wash your hands like this, you know, you're being unclean like this, you have to clean yourself like this way. No, you have to sleep like this, you have to wake up here, you know, do this. It's like, it can be very like seemingly nitpicky, you know, in terms of like, it's instructing them how to do things and reteaching them how to eat, you know, like, no, don't eat with this hand, eat with this hand, and like, it can be like almost insulting. It's like, you know, I'm 30 years old, like, I'm a grown man, you know, I've had a career, and like, you're telling me how to eat, like, so it can be very difficult for people like that. But it's because they don't understand this culture, they don't understand this concept of someone being more advanced in devotional service, and therefore being an authority that you can learn from and submit to, and it's completely bona fide, it's completely normal within Vedic culture in that way. We see this example here. You know, Vidura, he knows that Uddhava is much younger, but he's still submitting to him because he understands this is a proper authority I can submit to and I can learn from. Although, of course, Uddhava doesn't agree to do it. So there's these two kinds of age, physical and then maturity in devotional service. And that's kind of what's creating a little bit of a unique situation here in this verse. Another situation that's very similar to this, that just popped in my mind, is this, that Shukadeva Goswami, you know, he approaches the assembly and is asked to sit and speak the Bhagavatam, and he's in the presence of so many of his seniors, you know, his own spiritual master, there's Vyasadeva is there, Narada Muni is there. I mean, so many, you know, very exalted, pure devotees of the Lord are there that are equally capable of speaking. But it was seen that he was the most capable of speaking, and so he accepted that. And you know, that's a little bit different than this situation where Uddhava said, no, I won't do it. I won't instruct you, but Shukadeva Goswami did accept it. And we got the Bhagavatam from that, so it's really amazing. So sometimes there's kind of unique situations with seniority and someone who's more advanced in devotional service and younger in their bodily age, but we see that it's not actually so black and white that the older you are, the more advanced you are. I mean, there's Prahlad Maharaj, there's Dhruva Maharaj, they were 5 years old and they were, you know, completely perfected. And then there's, you know, it's said that, you know, if you're not chanting the holy name purely, if you're chanting with offenses, you can go on for millions of lifetimes and you won't make any advancement. So there may be some, you know, very senior devotees that have, you know, been in the movement for so long, but maybe they're saying that book distributors are Kali Chelas, for example. You know, they might be blaspheming book distribution, they might be speaking against Prabhupada, you know, doing all kinds of things, speaking Ritvik God and doing all kinds of stuff, you know, speaking Mayava even. So we have to be very careful about who we accept as an authority. We shouldn't just accept it purely on the fact that they're a senior devotee. There's that poem that my Guru Maharaj wrote, that I am a senior devotee, right? Yeah. So that's a really nice thing you can refer to and kind of understand that attitude that can be, it can come about, you know, especially if we become too comfortable in devotional service, too comfortable in devotee association, that we think, oh, I've been here for so long, I deserve respect now. You know, you people are enthusiastic, you know, and you're very, what's the word? Like when you're like overly enthusiastic, they call you that a lot.
Youthful enthusiasm?
No, it's like, anyway, I can't remember.
Zealous?
Huh? Zealous.
Passion.
No, it's like zealous, but it's like, anyway, I can't remember for some reason, I'm not looking at that word. But overly, you know, enthusiastic, overly sticking to the principles too strictly, you know, it's just, you're doing too much. You can just kind of chill out, just chant your rounds, and like, okay, you can distribute some books, but don't be so into it. Huh? Fanatic. Yeah. I don't know why I could they call us that, so. But we're simply just trying to follow Prabhupada. We're not, doing anything crazy. Fanatical means that you're following without proper understanding. Is that correct? Yeah. So, it means you're following without the correct philosophical foundation, and you're just simply following just to follow. Like you see fanatical people saying that, on the street they have a big sign and they have a loudspeaker and they say that, surrender to Jesus right now or y'all go to hell, this kind of thing. So they kind of compare us to that. When we are simply reading Shastra, reading Bhagavatam, reading Bhagavad Gita, listening to Prabhupada, listening to our own spiritual master, and trying to follow in the correct way. We're not doing crazy things like doing Nirjala Ekadashi every single Ekadashi because Prabhupada said you don't have to do that. He said, it's more important to take care of the body, just fast on grains and beans and go on book distribution. So we follow in that way. We don't over-exaggerate austerities and do all kinds of things like this. We're not trying to sleep only 1 or 2 hours a night and somehow survive like that, like the Goswamis. So we're not trying to come to a level that we're not at. And so, kind of want to talk about why is this all important to discuss, like seniority and submitting to authority and devotee relationships and how to approach your senior and your junior and your equal and all these things. And it's because these relationships with devotees are very extremely important. Actually, they're the central relationships in our lives. We have the relationship with the spiritual master, which is extremely important. It could be said to be the most important. But for us, at least, we're not constantly in the physical association of our spiritual master. And the way that our day-to-day lives look is that we're in association of, other devotees. Some that are our senior, some that are our junior, and some are equal. And we're all trying to advance in spiritual life, trying to become Krishna conscious, trying to please our spiritual master, and we're working on that together, trying to please Srila Prabhupada. But so many impediments, so many troubles, so many little kinds of bickering and little things can happen, because we're not perfect, we're not completely purified, we're not pure devotees yet, at least most of us. And we have anartas, we have things from our past life that we are bringing into devotional service that are only going to serve to impede our advancement, our relationships with other devotees. And so it's important to have seniors that will point those things out for us. And this is actually real love. This is, even though it sounds harsh, it can taste very bitter at the time. This is actually true caring for someone else. I remember when I first came, I had a lot of Mayavad misconceptions, and from years and years of conditioning in that way. And I still remember that I was in the small kitchen downstairs, and Chandanacharya Prabhu said, he just called me. I was like, this is your biggest problem. This will cause you a lot of trouble if you don't take care of it. You need to work on this right now. And I was it hurts to hear that kind of thing. Oh dang, I have big problems. I'm have a big misconception, and this is, and I was clinging to that misconception. But ultimately, he's saying these cutting words for my benefit, and this is what a sadhu does. He cuts with his words, and he doesn't mince words. He doesn't cut corners. He doesn't just speak nicely, softly, lovingly only. He tries to wake us up from our dream, our illusion of trying to enjoy this material world, trying to become the enjoyer. And so ultimately we can understand this, at least for me, coming here, I can understand that everything I have in life, anything that I've gained through my experience here, is simply the mercy of the devotees. I've been given everything by the devotees, it's complete mercy. I haven't done anything myself. I haven't earned any of this. And so we should have a very respectful, very gracious, grateful attitude towards devotees for understanding what they've given us, understanding that they've saved our lives, we see sometimes when I'm out in public, like yesterday, we're up at this overlook with this bhakta, and then so many people were coming and looking at there's a very nice view and sunset. And couples were coming, families were coming, all these people, and I just was thinking like, wow, like it just hit me like how they're completely just in this ocean of material existence, this forest of trying to enjoy this dark forest of material enjoyment, stuck in these shackles of Maya, and they don't even know it. But once you kind of start to see through that and see the reality of this world, and then you see other people in that, it's very distressing. And then I kind of realized, well, I would have been someone that would have done this, as a karmi. I would have come up here and looked at this overlook, and I would have been just like them. If it wasn't for, the causeless mercy of the devotees, that I definitely don't deserve, but, it's worked out that way. And there's this, of course, this verse, sadhu sangha, sarva shastri koi, lava matra sadhu sangi sarva siddhi koi, that just by the moment's association with a pure devotee, all perfection can be attained. That's all we need, is that moment's association with a pure devotee. And so we have to be very grateful for devotee association. We have to be very careful with devotee association. We should be very careful in our dealings with devotees. The materialists, they are very careful in their dealings with other materialists in order to increase their sense gratification. We see this 48 Laws of Power, I think it's called, this book. And he's saying or how to win friends and influence people. That's one that my Guru Maharaj speaks about sometimes, that ultimately the idea is that you're manipulating other people and you're acting nice to get what you want. You're not actually being nice, you don't actually care about them. You're not actually a nice person. Don't be that, because then they'll walk all over you. But just act that way, and then you can manipulate them in a certain way to get whatever you want. So this is the mindset of materialists. They're very careful in their dealings with other materialists. They're very particular in how they do it because they want to manipulate them and get what they want. And some, it might not be so malicious, so blatant, but that's ultimately what they're doing. But in terms of trying to become a devotee, we have to be sincere and actually genuinely careful and genuinely compassionate towards other devotees, and worship other devotees and see them as worshipable because they are. So we should have the correct attitude. If we blaspheme devotees, it's the first offense to the holy name of the Lord. We'll never achieve pure chanting of the Lord if we're not having the correct attitude, correct proper understanding of who devotees are. Sometimes I kind of just reflect on that, maybe particularly during japa period. I'll just have a moment every now and then. Most of the time I'm just extremely puffed up and I think I'm amazing, but sometimes every now and then I'll look around and wow, this devotee is so amazing in this way, this devotee is this, and I can kind of see I'm so insignificant. I don't have any skills or anything, and I'm not doing anything for my guru, and all these devotees are so enthusiastic, so just exalted people and exalted devotees, and you never really know who it is that you're dealing with actually. When Prabhupada was still in India, and his godbrothers had no idea who he was. They had no idea what he would achieve in the future. They had this, was it Pacha Grihasta, is that the term? Yeah. This term for Grihastas, all the sannyasis had it, or brahmacharis, Pacha Grihasta, rotten Grihasta. So they would refer to all the Grihastas as, they're just rotten Grihastas, they're just engaged in sense gratification, whatever, they're devotees, but we're doing the real thing, we're renunciates. And then, as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, he said that he will do everything, right? He said that when the time comes, he will do everything himself. And that was fulfilled, that came to be. And so these devotees, they had no idea who they were dealing with when they were dealing with Srila Prabhupada back then. They didn't know his exalted position. He's Nitya Siddha, he's pure devotee, came directly from the spiritual world to deliver the Western world and deliver the whole world. And give these books and bring us Krishna consciousness all over the world. And so, dealing with devotees is like you're dealing with the children of Krishna, you could say. And so, it's the same analogy that if you want to approach the president, you can go approach his dog and pet the dog, and then in that way you'll become dear to the president by showing affection to his pet. Similarly, if you're abusing someone, they're not going to like you. They're going to be upset with you. But if you abuse their children, then they're really going to be upset. They'll probably kill you. So it's the same kind of situation that on the very lowest platform of devotional service, a devotee is more concerned with simply Krishna, their guru. They're not really understanding the importance of devotees and the importance of devotee association, the importance of having good relations with devotees. So we have to come to this, at least this madhyamadikari level of understanding the importance of devotees and worshiping them and regarding them in the light they deserve to be regarded in, which is that they are, serving Krishna. And okay, they might not be perfect, but they're sincerely trying. And especially if they're in the ashram, specifically, I don't have experiences of other ashrams, but one thing I've experienced here is that you have to be very sincere to make it here, to actually stay here. It's like there's this natural filter that happens when someone's not so sincere, or they have ulterior motives, or whatever, they're maybe just a little too puffed up, or whatever it is. They just naturally just get kind of flushed out of this place. And it's like, it's really amazing place that everything is, you don't have to pay for anything, you get to come here, stay, get amazing prasad, amazing association, kirtans, get to travel all over the place. So many young people want to travel and live in a van. You get to do all of that. But the price is, it seems like, oh, it's free. What's the catch? The catch is that you have to be sincere. It's actually quite a steep price that you have to be very humble. You have to humble up, and you have to realize, I'm not the center of the world. I'm not God. I don't know everything. These devotees here, they are senior to me. They're an authority that they're a bona fide authority on spiritual life, and they can instruct me, they can guide me, and I should submit to them, and I should help them guide me, or let them guide me, and accept that guidance, and actually take what they're saying and apply it to my life. We have experience of some people that they come and we instruct them, and they just never change. They never change that habit. They never try sincerely to change those things. And it's very unfortunate, because they're missing a big opportunity. So it really just takes that level of sincerity, that level of humility, of being, okay, I'm not the greatest, I don't know everything. Accepting that you've been suffering in the material world, there's nothing out there for you to go back to. And understanding the importance, the rarity of human life, the rarity of devotee association, and actually, taking it up with full confidence, with full enthusiasm, and submissively striving to serve devotees and be of service and try to help move this mission forward in some way. So of course we always say this Vanchakapatariyasha Prabhasudibhyavicha Patitanam Papnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. The devotees are just like desire trees, they're oceans of mercy. They're full of compassion for the fallen Krishna souls, and we're offering obeisances to them. So, every morning we're worshiping our Guru, we're worshiping Krishna, we're worshiping Tulsi, and then we end the whole thing by, worshiping, offering obeisances to the devotees. So we should keep that in mind, that this is not it's not exactly just like a frat house where it's just like we're all bros and it's a good time. That guy stole his girlfriend, whatever, they fought, but that kind of stuff happens in a frat house. But here it's that's there, we're it's like a frat house, whatever, we're bros, we're having a good time. But there's the formality of it, of this is the serious thing, where this is spiritual life, this is trying to reach the perfection of human life. I mean, no karma talks about something like that. Reach the perfection of human life, like go back to Godhead. Rid yourself of material desires. They don't have any conception of these kinds of higher things. And so here we have this idea, we have this ideal and this goal, and we see it in the pure devotees. We see it in our Guru Maharaj, we see it in Srila Prabhupada, we see it that it's displayed that this is a possible thing you can achieve. And so we should enthusiastically strive for that and maintain, of course, this lighthearted friendship and good relations in that way, but also understand that it's a very serious thing as well, and be careful not to make any offenses. So, that's all I have prepared for the class. If anybody has comments, questions, corrections, yes, Rule. Use the microphone.
I think now we can plug in that thing.
You do. Yes, you do.
Prabhu, you made this point like Indian devotees, they see Westerners hugging each other and then loving care, and this is seen and they don't understand. So in that case, it's not that way. Maybe sometimes, I face this in Belfast also. I heard these comments there also. So sometimes a vision, the way, the lens through which we are seeing, if we constantly see in that mood, then it goes like that only. Like, for that you should, I'm not saying anything condemnable to you maybe, but for that we should see with the prism of like the way Indians deal actually. Like in India, we don't say thank you, sorry, I love you. Even Guru Maharaj says in one lecture that in India, a wife doesn't say her husband in entire life that I love you. But by her service, she does it.
Right.
Yeah, like, for a mother in India, a child's stool is not a burden, she feels, oh, my son has eaten nicely and that's why, and she cleans that. Yeah, so that affection is shown by service. Here, like for us, we feel a lot of formalities goes. Indians, they deal in a front, like love is directly expressed. We don't maintain so much of formalities.
Right.
Like I have to ask my father, can I come tonight to your place? Here you have to ask. Some devotee said, my father can't check my cupboard. He said in relations with books. And but in India, at the age of 50 also, my father can just, canvass me thoroughly. And at the age of 50, my mother has the same relation for me. I'm a small kid for her. So like the dealings in India, like I remember during the day I dealt with Corona. So devotees whom like we never hugged or we never thanked or we never say sorry, they came to my place. So they came to my place and they offered fruits, and every day when the devotees from temple, the vice president or any devotee, around 4 or 5 devotees daily. Somebody used to bring veggies for us, somebody used to bring fruits, somebody medicines, so many things. Right coming out at our doorstep when I am having corona, my wife is having corona. So the dealings basically is not in a way that we express it formally. So maybe sometimes, it happens that we get to deal with some devotees and maybe we get the picture of, the entire, like, I dealt with in the West, in Belfast I dealt. So like, if I was left in Belfast hospital just alone, nobody to attend me and one devotee. So from that, but I understand that there was one devotee and he's singly staying and he came for me. So I took that gratitude of his, because in his, I don't know where he left, where he lived, but then from that devotee that he took my care. That was my picture for him, And I understood that there are very few devotees and the temple was far off. So like here also, like it takes time, for the devotees. Maybe we may get into that vision, and it will be means we may make that picture like that only. So like mostly it happens actually. I don't know, but then like means we should take utmost care in this, because the culture that is over there and here, it's quite different. So maybe for each of us to come at that level of dealing, it takes time. Like with some devotees you open up easily, and with some it take little bit of time. So maybe means what happens in that, like that vision of ours get clouded, that okay, this is a picture of what things are actually, and in that maybe we may be on the wrong conclusion. So just felt, because like I have faced both dealings. Like in West, I got love, immense love from devotees. They took care of me. Like that also has happened. And sometimes we feel that okay, they don't understand. That feeling comes. The mind pushes that okay, they don't understand. But then the psychology tells, if we understand the psychology, that how their conditions they have gone through. Somebody who has not dealt with their family in a personal way. So because of that, he is little hard, or his dealings are formal. We feel formal dealings like that. So, but then, okay, understanding the psychology of the whole culture over here, okay, we take it, okay, this is the way it is happening because of that thing. So the reasoning comes, and that helps, that we, like, then the picture, we don't form a picture of any person, okay. Just a note that I wanted to share, because, time and again these things comes out, and then, it gets, means, it revolves around the thought, and then I felt like it should be expressed. Okay, thank you.
In the purport, we were hearing how Vidura wanted to hear from Uddhava, even though he was the same age as Vasudeva, Krishna's father. And there was a similar instance in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in Madhya Leela chapter 15, where one devotee was explaining that his son is actually his father. And I'll just read this is a couple verses. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the son of Mother Shachi, next asked Mukunda Das, "You are the father and your son is Raghunandana. Is that so? Or is Srila Raghunandana your father and you are his son? Please let me know the facts so that my doubts will go away." Mukunda replied, "Raghunandana is my father and I am his son. This is my decision. All of us have attained devotion to Krishna due to Raghunandana. Therefore, in my mind, he is my father." Hearing Mukunda Das give this proper decision, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirmed it, saying, "Yes, it is correct. One who awakens devotion to Krishna is certainly the spiritual master." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very happy just to speak of the glories of his devotees. Okay, that's it.
Just a comment that you were saying, how in the West, that respect to duties to elders, it isn't there. And it's, if you base it, society off of sense gratification, the older you get, the more you still want the sense gratification. When you see the younger people, actually, they're more superior to you, actually, because they're able to have that sense gratification while you're not. So it's like, I remember also growing up, you go to a barbershop or something, you see like somebody glorifying this young guy about how he's doing all this stuff, that's making a lot of money. And that same respect isn't for them because they're not able to, actually employ their senses in the proper way because they're just old. So, but like you said, on the flip side of Vedic culture, if it's not based on sense gratification, you have that respect because the older you get, the more wisdom you get. But in the West, you become more dull actually. The more older you become more dull, so there's no reason for us to respect somebody who's older than us because they're dull, and we're actually superior to them on the material platform.
question was regarding what Mahatma Prabhu said, also like we are in the West, and you were speaking of we don't have so much that culture of respect towards the others. And one of the reasons why that might occur is that they are not acting responsibly or respectably. They are not so much some personalities who we look upon like great examples, but still there should be respect on the basis of old age. I know that there is different propensities that we shall offer respect to. So what is like the practical application for us to respect elders who are not respectable in terms of knowledge and of like what you mentioned, Vaishnava, we worship. What is like the respect that we should offer to like general parents or
Yeah. Well, the standard in terms of like varnashram is that with your parents, when they get to the certain age where they're not able to care for themselves, you're supposed to take care of them. So you're supposed to take them into your own home. You know, at that point, you're grown, and you have your own family, and so then the families live in larger groups. Like right now, it's all like nuclear family. It's like just a husband, wife, and kids. But in the proper way is to have husband, wife, kids, and then the husband and wife's parents also can stay in the same house and be cared for in their old age and when they're not able to take care of themselves. So that's the proper way to then you don't have to have these old people's homes and retirement homes and whatever. People just right now a lot of older people just live alone. Maybe their spouse even passes away and then they're just by themselves, just in the middle of nowhere, just all alone. It's like really sad state. So they should be under the care of their children, because the children, the thing is that the parents raise the children, and then those children repay the parents by caring for those parents at their time of need when they're older. So that's the understanding. That's the proper way to do it. And we see even Mukundadatta Prabhu, he showed this example of his mother was not a devotee, but she became ill in her old age, and none of his other brothers or sisters they also weren't devotees. They wouldn't care for her. So he went and he cared for her. How long is it for? 6 years. Like 6 years he spent intensive care. Like he had to be there all the time to care for her because she was completely unable to care for herself at all. And so he showed this proper example of a Vaishnava, that he was, before that happened, he was in Govardhan writing books or translating books, doing some important scholarly work, but due to understanding Dharma and understanding his duty, he dropped that and he went to California. That he took care of her for those 6 years. And so it's a big struggle, and it can be inconvenient, and that's why people don't want to do it now. But you have to take that inconvenience, to properly act within Dharma. And so he showed that example for us, and that's the proper way. The children take care of their parents, and then it doesn't become like a burden for society at large. Now, again, these old people homes. Yeah, it becomes like if the kids won't take care of them, then someone else has to, and then it's these nurses at the old people's homes, but they don't care about them because it's not their relative. So then they abuse them, and so it's a really bad situation now. So that's the proper way.
And in case if someone remains brahmachari, so what is their duty then?
Yeah, that's a tricky question. It's said that if you're in their now sort of life, you don't have obligations towards that, towards your family stuff. But there have been examples of devotees that were brahmachari that they went and took care of their parents in that situation. So, I know personally, I think I asked Chandra one time, if your parents were sick and needed help, would you? He's yeah, I would go take care of them. So, yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I've seen one devotee in Pune actually. A brahmachari means his mother was ill and the verge of dying maybe. So the way Mukundadatta Prabhu did, he served his mother, and then now he's in the ashram.
Yeah.
So it's you can go and serve them because if there is nobody to take care of them,
Yeah.
you have to be there because because of their teachings and because of their whatever cultural aspects they taught you, that is the reason you got this thing.
Right.
So that love and reverence means it should be showed there, because you can come back again then.
Right. Anything from us? Okay. Srila Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Krishna Prabhu.